impoverished community with a particular goal that was exceeded, starting with 0 donors. And that's what we're going to be exploring today. The assumption is that you have no donors at all. And by the way, if you're a bigger shop and you do have donors, we're going to deploy some different things that no nonprofit is doing, even with their existing donors. Okay. Thanks for your patience. Friends, we are going to review the 13 steps of the Major Gifts Ramp Up model, divided into 3 phases: the planning phase, the building phase, the invitation phase. You're going to want to remember for later with Chris and Stephanie that the planning phase and the building phase occur concurrently. Pedagogy versus andragogy, child learning versus adult learning. We welcome your questions, your comments, and pushback. All the answers that we need are already here in the room in your person. So I ask you to bear up the load and break the ice and share what's on your heart. Friends, if you could take a minute and write down these 2 email addresses. You may want to check your spam folder. And you'll want to make these 2 email addresses, you'll want to put them on your safe senders list. By putting them on the same senders list, you will have an enhanced conference experience these 2 days. Now, I've got great news. You're going to be seeing a variety of things on screen, PowerPoint decks, etc. And you don't need to worry about writing it down. Now, let me go get the curriculum. Here is your curriculum. And I believe we're starting on page 8. But there are so many things that you're going to see on the screen today that are not in here. Here's the great news. You have permanent access forever to everything you're going to see on the screen today, and it's in the Major Gifts Ramp Up Cloud Preview. So you've received an invitation to majorgiftsrampup.com. I'm going to just go there with you right now. Let's go to majorgiftsrampup.com. And if you'll simply come down here and log in, which I'm doing, I don't know if you can see my tiny screen. And you simply hit submit and view preview. It takes you into the Major Gifts Ramp Up Cloud Preview. Now, we're going to be learning all about the cloud later. And you'll notice that in every directory, 99% of the files are locked. Now, there's some open files, naturally, throughout the cloud preview, but they're 99% locked. But when you come down here to the Major Gifts Ramp Up Conference Series, every single document that you're going to be experiencing today on your screen is captured in a PDF format and a Word document format. So don't worry about furiously writing what you see on your screen. You will always have access to that, and you can download it, etc. It's in the Major Gifts Ramp Up Conference Series in the Major Gifts Ramp Up Cloud Preview. Yes, we will start today on page 8 in this curriculum. And I am pleased to say that, as Stephanie noted, I am the author of the industry best-selling book, Reimagining Philanthropy. When this came out, friends, it was the most read and the most controversial article in the history of Chronicle of Philanthropy because of the conventional wisdom that we took on and proved empirically no longer works. You're going to be going through this book with me today and tomorrow to better understand that. Now, who did I write this to? I wrote Reimagining Philanthropy, not to consultants, not to board members. I didn't write it to nonprofit executives. I wrote it to donors. I invited them to change the way that they give. And I demonstrated to them the things that no longer work and that they shouldn't be involved in. This was written to donors. I'm pleased to share that the president of Nano, Lewis Fawcett, went ahead and wrote a very similar book, but in the context of you, reimagining nonprofits. Okay, reimagining philanthropy. Here we go. Friends, we are represented by a variety of people on all sorts of different spectrums. Friends, I want to assure you, you are not here to be preached at, etc. I still want to just tackle one issue. It is being argued that we live in the most divisive time in our nation's history. And I know that there's moments where it's uncomfortable and that people have shared values and opposite values, whether it's sociological, whether it's political, whether it's spiritual. The spectrum of different ideas that are represented in the nonprofit sector, that are represented here during this call. We have an LGBT advocacy group. We could say that's further to the left. We have a crisis pregnancy center that's further to the right. And let me share with you why I am so glad we're all here together. It's because I believe in the purity of your motives. You are our heroes. You get up every day to ensure another person experiences a life worth living. Friends, you may do it this way, and I may even disagree with the way that you do it, but I respect the reasons and the motives that you get up to ensure and lay down your life to serve another person. Now, here's an axiom that could bind us together. It is my hope. If a person or a thing possesses life, if it's alive, it's better that for a determinate period of time, this someone or this something should be alive. And that during that finite span of their life, and inherent to their animation, there is a hierarchy of needs that, if met, it dignifies the life being lived. Simply put, it is better that one lives, and if they live, they experience a life worth living. So for me, it is not sufficient that somebody be alive or something be alive. It is only sufficient for me if that person is experiencing a quality of life that dignifies their existence. And I think that's what you get up every day for. I think that's why you get up every day. Now, speaking to these differences that we enjoy, we live in a constitutional republic, and I believe even to this day, we can be confidently plural. I believe in the purity of your motives. This idea of being confidently plural, being different and holding different values and different perspectives and serving different people, this idea of being confident plural, it allows me to respect any and all attempts, successes, failures others employ to ensure life's worth living. These ideas demand an appreciation for the diverse and countless ways others help others. I believe everybody's on this call for the right reason, and I look forward to better understanding the call that's on your life and being affected in a dramatic way, in an important way, by our new friendship, because you get up every day to help another person. So why charity? When I'm asked the question, why charity, this whole idea of needs being met, kindnesses being shared, dreams coming true, it transports me to a very special place. Because for me, it's all about mercy. I have been the object of mercy from people on this call. I have been the object of mercy from charitable organizations. Now, if I could just share this, I think I'm only going to mention the idea of God one time. And with that being said, it's kind of binary. You either believe that there's a God or you don't. And the definition that I'm about to share with you works if you are not a theist, but rather you're an atheist. You could be a theist, you could be an atheist. And where you see me use the word God one time here, you could just replace that with man. And then I think this definition works for everybody and really works for you in a special way. So here we go, a definition of mercy. By the way, I'm just going to do a mute all real quick. Mute all. Allow participants to unmute themselves. So here we go. What charity has meant to me over my 57 years. Okay, there we go. All the way back. This definition of mercy, it goes like this. Mercy is God's supply system for every need, everywhere. Mercy is that kindness, compassion, and tenderness that has a passion to suffer with and participate in another person's ills and evils in order to heal, in order to relieve, in order to restore. Mercy provides the needed good of life to bring to peace and then to keep in peace. It is the glow of love. It is the true anointing. Mercy, 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 mercy. And if there's anything that's better than mercies, maybe it would be tender mercies. Friends, what is the opposite of mercy? The opposite of mercy is judgment. And I am very good at judgment. I think very highly of my opinions. And when an individual passes by the judgment seat of my heart, I judge them. And I can be vicious. That is the opposite of mercy. Now, when I find myself in need, when I found myself in need of a kindness, I am all about mercy. Mercy, 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 when it comes to me and my behavior. But can you imagine that our vocation, that out of the West and out of the generosity of what our nation has accomplished in its first 250 years, a sector has emerged that's about delivering mercy. So when I say there is a high call on your life, that the act of overseeing a nonprofit, the high call of fundraising, I am going to make the case that fundraising is not about tin cupping. It's not about used car salesmen. It's a literal call where donors have a need to give, and you're going to distinguish yourself in your community as the nonprofit that helps them give their money away in a manner with an experience where they want to do it again and again and again. Friends, do you provide a giving experience that people are calling up and saying, I can't wait to give you another gift because of the way you treated me the first time I gave? Is your phone ringing off the hook? Well, it does if you're doing Major Gifts Ramp Up. So all of that as a result of being able to be doers of mercy. You guys find a need and you meet it. You make a promise and you keep it. You are great need meeters. You chase after a need and you meet it. You are mercy doers, doers of mercy. And for that, I am grateful. So thank you for allowing me to share how I view you. Now back to the question, why charity? And then why are we here this morning? Jimmy, you've been a bit preachy, Jimmy. Well, for me, it's simple. We have a mercy delivery problem. And why you're here today is to make sure that charity gets to mercy to her destination. Charity is the vehicle whereby which we are able to serve. And there is a difficulty in this regard, and it's money. So friends, the reason I share that motive chapter is to build trust, because I am now about to go into some areas that may be uncomfortable. You may want to run out of the room with your hair on fire. And as Stephanie said, if you would just let us get through and make the case, we would then entertain your questions, comments, and pushback. Because we are about to go into some areas here that require a shift, that may require a little bit of emotional support as we do it. But maybe if you see our heart around the motive, it'll make the medicine go down a little bit easier around the money. So, money is oxygen. And without it, nonprofits can't breathe. Friends, not too long ago, I was sitting in this room behind me with people that are on this call right now. We're in this room, and everybody thought I had the flu. And then they thought I had bronchitis. And then they thought I had pneumonia. And it wasn't until I slipped into a coma that they discovered I had contracted Legionnaire's disease. And let me tell you how it works. 90% of my lungs, with only 10% left, were infected with goo and poison. And I lost 90% of my lung function. Do you know what happens when you only have 10% lung function? Your blood pressure drops. My blood pressure dropped to 50/30. And because I didn't have the blood pressure that I needed, because I didn't have the oxygen that was required, the blood supply to my vitals organs failed. And the first one to go toxic was my kidneys. And as I was slipping into a coma, I do remember them saying, he's going to have to be on dialysis the rest of his life. And it was all because I did not have the air that I needed to breathe. Friends, it is a matter of the order of things. Now, if you want to run a minivan, if you want to run a food bank out of the back of your minivan, God bless you. And I suppose we need that. But if you are called to solve a problem completely in your community, by the way, what need are you meeting? What mercy are you delivering? And friends, if we're able to discover that you have a unique way to solve a problem, and all that's required to scale that mission, to not just service the problem, but solve it completely, is cash, why would we not prioritize the acquisition of finance? Do you know how inspiring it is to a donor for you to sit down with them and for them to look at your case document, look at you, look at your case document, look at you, and say, you've taken my breath away. I think I thought I understood what the need here was around hunger in St. Johns County, Florida, among seniors. I thought I knew what it was, but I didn't. But the fact that it's only going to require $12 million to eliminate hunger completely in St. Johns County, well, that's something I'd like to be a part of. Friends, are you giving that gift of compelling case for support that money chases after? Do you have that utility, that tool, when you share the value proposition, the financial offer? A donor is confronted with a moral quandary. What happens to me and my family if we don't give? Is that the gift that you're giving donors? Or are we tin cupping? Are we going out there and saying, we're making a difference, we're a good steward of your finances, please give? Rather, have we committed to cash acquisition in such a way that we are providing not just the person being served an experience out of hunger, but we are programmatically providing a customer, a donor, an experience that ensures that they give and give and give again. Friends, this starts by prioritizing cash acquisition. Dare I say it, prioritizing cash acquisition over program. Now, give me a minute. Don't run out of the room just yet. Let me make this case. Here we go. Money is oxygen. I certainly would argue that money is oxygen and that money is more important than mission. It is a simple matter of the order of things. If we do not acquire the cash that we need, we end up every year raising dollars to pay for yesterday's bills instead of having the surplus of revenue that we need to fund a solution that solves the problem completely. 90% of nonprofits prioritize program services instead of cash acquisition. Fundraising is like some sort of ATM machine. We wouldn't do it if we didn't have to. We've got a banquet, we've got a gala, we've got an auction, we've got a mud run. We're trying this wacky social media, and we stop doing the important work and we take time out of our schedule and we go doing the fundraising so we can raise some dollars so we can go back to doing what's important. Friends, cash acquisition is more important than your program. Would you like to know how I know? The number one indicator of a nonprofit's ability to grow its mission is its capacity to add staff. Right now, in the rest of 2024, are you adding 15 staff members? And in 2025, will you completely close the loop and solve the problem that you're faced with by adding an additional 35 staff members? So I promise you, if you'd stop serving kids for just a minute, acquire the finances that you need to hire the 35 staff members, you would end up then being responsible programmatically for solving the problem completely. So friends, I think it's okay that you invested in program up to this point and that you've had a great win and you've proven your product and your prototype. But now we have to switch because do you have a waiting list? Do you have a waiting list for your programs and services? Friends, waiting lists are immoral. 95% of the time we have a waiting list is because we don't have the finances that we need to expand our service footprint, to put in place the capital infrastructure that's required. Friends, the only thing between you and ending your waiting list is cash. So why wouldn't we have a shift and prioritize? Money is more important than mission. Certainly for everybody on this call right now, money is more important than mission because you've proven your programming, your technique, and now you're here to learn how to scale it. Why do I emphasize this? Because you're going to have to invest time, not so much money, but you're going to have to prioritize cash acquisition over program. And in 18 months to have the millions that you need to hire everybody that you require to serve the people entrusted to your care. So, have I lost you? Money is more important than mission. Jimmy, get away from me. Money is more important than mission. It gets worse. If money is more important than mission, for without money, we are of no effect. Therefore, if money is more important than mission, wait for it, then donors are more important than clients, issue, or cause. Donors are more important than the individuals that you're serving, just as a matter of business growth. The poor will always be with you. Good night in the morning. There's a waiting list right now of people that you're not serving. So that puts a different emphasis. The key to saving and transforming more lives is the acquisition of donors to underwrite what you're facing. Now, here is the mistake that nonprofits make, that charities make, that ministries make. Oh, by the way, money is more important than mission. For my Baptist friends, money is more important than ministry. And the reason we have this problem is because we're not answering this question properly. Who is your primary customer? Nonprofits mistakenly think that the student, the homeless, the rainforest, the family, etc., that those are your customers. They are not your customers. Your clients or the cause you're serving is not your customer. Somebody asked me why.
Why?
It's funny you should ask. The reason why your client and your cause is not your customer is because they ain't got no money. Now, I understand if you're a hospital, the patient may be remunerating. I understand that you may have students and you have tuition. But in 95% of nonprofits, ministries, charities, the population that you're serving is not able to support and transact the services they receive for. And what's great is we're going to teach you how to put in place a program for your true customers that is going to provide them a product. For the sake of the next 2 days, student and patient, your revenue is fees and tuition. The customer makes that the student and the patient. Are you receiving a majority of government grants? That makes the government your customer. Local, state, and federal income contracts. Maybe you're involved in some spectacular social enterprise where the general public as a whole is your customer base. But for the sake of the next 2 days, and don't forget what I said about an hour ago, friends, I am going to give you the contact information for every single millionaire donor in your community. For the next 2 days, donors are our customers. When we talk about customers, we're talking about the philanthropic investor. Tomorrow, we're going to go over the 42 different reasons donors give. That makes it 42 different types of philanthropic customers. And before these 2 days are over, you're going to end up being an expert in how to understand who they are, what their needs are, and then meet those needs in a way that surprises them and will surprise you. Donors are your customers. Donors pay for the opportunity to participate in the transformation of a people. They spend their money to advance an issue. They purchase a stake in your meaningful cause. Of the 1.5 million nonprofits, 1.48 million have missed it. And I'll let you know how they've missed it and how the majority of nonprofits and ministries on this call have missed it. Because nonprofits don't include donors in their statement of mission. Friends, you're literally writing mission statements to attract more non-paying customers. That's our model. Your mission statement is reflective of the enterprise that you're overseeing. And things are out of order. So much so that we don't even include our paying customers in our statement of mission. So, none of the nonprofits in this room, this virtual room, have included donors in their statements of mission. I'm on page 11 in your curriculum. You don't have to write this down. But let me make the case that this is not a bad mission statement, but is certainly a common one. And it goes like this. Harvesttown Food Bank exists to provide our communities hurting, hungry, and homeless the clothing, food, and nutritional care they so desperately need. Not a lot of fat on that mission statement. I'll read it again. Harvesttown Food Bank exists to provide our communities hurting, hungry, and homeless the clothing, food, and nutritional care they so desperately need. Common mission statement. Let me argue now for a proper mission statement. Harvesttown Food Bank provides donors, volunteers, and advocates the organization that they require to serve our communities hurting, hungry, and homeless. Harvesttown Food Banks provides donors, volunteers, and advocates the organization they require to serve Columbia, South Carolina's hurting, hungry, and homeless. Friends, I'm not just giving lip service to the idea that money is more important than mission. With abandon, without apology, I am suggesting that money is so important that we have to put in place a program, not for people in need, but for donors in need. So much so that it's reflected in our statement of mission. So that from the cornerstone, as we lay the foundation for the next 20 years, whereby which we are going to solve a problem completely. Friends, if you go to donors with a plan, but you have the gall or the chutzpah or the courage to say, I'm going to solve this problem completely. Our organization is going to solve this problem completely. We're going to solve this problem completely. A donor will smile at you. They'll smile and they'll say, that's bold. But then they'll do this. You know, I've given you $5,000 in the past, but because of this great dream backed by a sound plan, the fact that you are going to make the case to me that you're going to solve this problem completely, instead of giving you $5,000 this year, I'm going to give you $500,000 this year. Because there's no nonprofit in my life, there is no nonprofit in our community that's ever made such a compelling case for support as to what our needs are. Friends, the greatest gift you can give to a donor is a heroic mission of scale. We must design these missions and eradicate problems in such a way that they attract big bet philanthropy. I would argue that you may not be confident that that's what your offer is right now. And you're saying, boy, Jimmy, if I had an offer like that, maybe things would be different. We are here to review and deploy and customize for you, for your organization, the 13 steps of the Major Gifts Ramp Up model, so that you will never have to worry about, yay, you will have more money than you can possibly spend.